Welcome to Men Unfiltered, a podcast that looks at men today, addressing what's changed, what needs to be restored, and modeling the God-ordained role of man himself. His responsibility as provider and protector, leader and lover. This show sets out to destroy the current narrative that has an apparent mission to emasculate men and purposefully restore them in an empowered position by addressing accountability for their own health, money stewardship, and commitment to leaving a legacy. Unashamedly, here are Men Unfiltered.
Here we go. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. This is another Monday edition of Men Unfiltered. I am one of the hosts. I am the real GM, the health evangelist, Grayson Marshall Jr. And I'm excited to be here with you guys tonight. And tonight, as always, every Monday, they need no introduction, but I'm going to allow them to do just that. On my top right tonight is none other than
On the Grind Coach Chris Allen, y'all. It feels good to be back here every Monday. Hanging out with my brothers, as always.
Have a good
I like the pauses. I like the pauses you just gave.
You like the pauses?
Yeah, it gave me Coach. It gave me Grayson Marshall Jr. with the pauses. You know what I'm saying? The dramatic pauses gave me Grayson Marshall.
The effect.
Dr. Adrian.
Pause.
Never forget the 8th century. Mr. Choose Excellence, aka Dr. Real Estate Jax. And today I'm just glad to be back in the place. So let's get to it. There we go.
I like it. I like it.
Well, hey, I want to jump right into it because I believe that this topic is going to be somewhat of a hot one. So the topic tonight is, will successful women end up lonely? Will successful women end up lonely? And I got this because I was checking something out and I want to play this. Now, what I'm going to do, I told Chris, I'm going to play it now, and I'm going to play it in about another 15 minutes, just so people that haven't seen it will know what we're talking about. But I want y'all to listen to this.
Say date like a man.
Okay.
If you're a really highly successful woman who's doing very well financially, men don't date with those standards. Yeah. You date with who makes you happy.
What if she can't get over that? She's like, I want somebody on my level.
Good luck. Have at it. Go for what you want. But I'm just letting you know that your pool of men that are making the kind of money you're making is so slim to none. And then those men don't want you because men will sleep with just about anything.
That's true.
And especially if it's private or secret and no one has to know. Mm-hmm. So I've seen women who are 5s, but they're sleeping with a dude who's a 9. Yeah. She's got these ridiculous standards because she actually thinks this means that a man on that level would be with her. But he would never be with her. He's just using her for sex. But she thinks because her vagina has given her access to these men here, that this is the new standard. Men, money. They would never have access to these women, but the money gives them access to this. So for women who are very successful and you want to only date those men in that pool, that men with money have access to women that are not on their level. Do you think he wants you? Men don't look at it like, let's be a power couple. That's a woman thing.
Man, that is real, Rebecca. I think a lot of women don't realize that.
Men don't think like that. That you're powerful, successful man making money. He wants a woman for peace and love and great sex and stroke his ego. And he's proud to have her on his arm when he goes out. It's kind of like that whole package, for men thing. But that's about it. And as long as you're like a really great woman, you can be great friends and the compatibility is there and everything. But he's not looking at another millionaire woman like, let me be with her because she's a millionaire.
Yeah.
That is not how men think. And so women, if you're doing that, it's very lonely because first of all, there's not a lot of men in those categories. And then on top of that, like I say, you're going to be chasing men who don't want you.
Gentlemen.
Well.
Gentlemen. I think you can see that the topic is appropriate. It was basically her commentary. So I'm going to yield right now to, Erica said, Well, Eric said disagree. Come on with Eric. I mean, so the fellas, let's start. Chris, let's start with you. You heard her. Now, to me, I'm gonna let Doc break it down, but I think to me, she sounds like at times the typical new feminist woman that I'm on this level. I can't find a bunch of men on my level. So I'm gonna ride and do this thing myself. I'm gonna get my own bag. I got my own bag. I don't need no dude, right? And we talked about this before. But Chris, I want to hear what you had to say about that. Eric can tell me why you disagree, but how did you feel about her commentary, Chris? Because there was a couple things that she said that I was just like, nah, you way off. But it's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, there was a couple things that she said that was way off too. But I think that when she started the conversation about men and how a successful man, he's not looking for someone who is trying to have that bag like he has. It's just a sex thing for him. That's why Tiger goes out and he's been over there with somebody from Waffle House. It was a sex game for him. And then my baby talked about women won't be lonely. Her perspective, they won't be lonely because they'll end up buying that little boy toy and keeping it on the hush hush. So there was parts of it that I agree with and parts that I disagree with. Doc?
All right, so I think personally she's speaking from her warped sense of reality.
Sure.
This is all her disappointments that she's been through in relationships. These are her standards that are ultra high and can't seem to find the man that she wants, right? So I refuse to believe, right? I can go back and I can think about the men in my life, the guys who are really out there trying to get it, who's hustling. Yeah, sex is one thing, and we can't put sex and relationship in the same conversation. And I think too many people try to entangle those two things. Mm-hmm. Sex is one thing, right? Yeah. But choosing a mate, someone that you actually want to be with in your life, I can't think of a single male that I know personally that does not want someone compatible, someone to help build an empire with them, right? Like, so where she's coming from, her entire commentary to me was from a warped sense of reality, right? Sure. Where she's thinking why she's having a hard time finding a person to be with, or the many different relationships that she's been in with the wrong person, or someone who's tried to control her, or what she's created mentally because someone left her. And to me, it doesn't add up.
So let me go back then. So even when we look through history, and we can name them, multiple men who have that bag, who have it, they're not getting with the next woman who got that same bag. Michael Jordan, he didn't go get somebody who got a bag. Tiger Woods, he didn't go get somebody who had a bag. We can count multiple men who at that particular level. Your boy from Boston who just cheated on Nia with the lady. She didn't have no bag.
Yes, she did though. Yes, she did. She was
a corporate. Her husband had the bag.
So she came.
She didn't have the bag.
Right. But where you're going, Chris, I get it. But hold on a minute, because Michael Jordan married the girl he was with in college.
Correct.
Before he had the bag. See, we got to keep this.
No. He got divorced from that chick, and when he got the billions,
the first girl he married, the mother of his 3 kids, was a girl he was with in North Carolina.
Right.
I know that for a fact.
That's fact.
So here's my point, and here's what I was going to. When I hear her, Chris, what is the one thing that men want more than anything? Respect, right? That doesn't sound like a woman who's trying to respect a man.
I agree.
And I believe the men that in her mind, 9s going after 5s, is because that woman will respect that man. Now, it may be superficial respect. It may be respect of his money or the things he has. But ultimately, what she's missing is that her approach with that mindset, saying that the pool is limited. The pool is only limited to them who don't want to respect the man. If you have what you have and you come across like you're trying to submit, nothing about her commentary sounded submissive at all. And I'm not talking about reduction. I'm talking about submitted. Nothing about her search for a man says, I'm looking for a man. What she said was the pool is small.
Yep.
And she said that the women who are 5s get the guys. And I don't believe it's because they're 5s. I believe it's because they do look at the man in a respectful way. Now, they may have an agenda. I'm not denying that. But their approach is, I respect what you're doing. I respect what you've done. And 90% of the fives are willing to help out, do the work, make sure the man is where he needs to be. And that's not the case. So for her to sit there and say that she doesn't believe that the pool of men is big, no, the men, I guarantee you, are just as jaded as some of the women. And they've gone after that type of woman right there. And the interaction with that type of woman was so, man, bump you. I'm going to go over here when I'm respected because you don't respect me. And as Doc said, their elevated standards are so high. They want to talk about the five having high standards. Their standards are so high that the pool is small based on what you're asking. Because I don't know too many dudes who making that kind of chase, who had that bag, Chris, that going to put up with her foolishness. You know what I'm saying? Because 9 times out of 10, her bag is a company with attitude. It's a company with equality. It's a company with, I don't need you. That's not respectful. Mm-hmm. And I can say the three of us on this call, we have been searching for that partner to be a power couple.
Right.
Sure.
I've been looking for that forever. Finally got it. But that was my thing. So for her to sit there and say men don't think that way, that's a damn lie.
It was funny. I was watching this episode one time. I think it was Steve Harvey. And it was not an episode. I was watching the video of Steve Harvey, and it was these women in the room. It was, I think, about 6, 7, 8 women inside of the room, right? And they were all making well over 6 figures. And each one of them decided to say they can't find a man because men are intimidated by us by having 6 figures. It's hard for us to find a man. And so one woman begins to explain she has a wish list. And when I tell you she had a wish list of almost 100 when she started. And as she shaved, she's like, then I had to shave it down to about 50. Then I had to shave it down to about 25. It's like, why do I have to keep shaving down my list? And it was the most interesting part to me is like, what 100 qualities can you come up with? Right. And in her mind, it was the fact that the dating pool was the problem, that men were intimidated by her because she had money. It was all of these other things besides, ma'am, you're the issue, right? The issue here is you have expectations that no one can live up to. Many of the expectations that you have on here, you don't live yourself, because I'm sure you don't have all 100 qualities that you're demanding of someone else. But I think that's where a lot of people, the story they begin to tell themselves. And, this, I'll go back to it again, this whole idea that we're supposed to manifest whatever we want in life when it comes to business, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to houses and cars is freaking crazy to me, right? Like, stop trying to be a psycho and find you a sane man that's going to deal with your bulljiggity. You know what I'm saying? Men, stop trying to be an ultra controlling man or you know what I'm saying? An ultra controlling man and try to find a woman who you can, well, that's not hard, control, or, you know what I mean, who's not going to fight you back. It's the problem is we're trying to set expectations for relationships. I have never in my life wanted a woman who sit on the couch and eat bonbons. Never. Like, that's not ever never been a thought in my mind, right? It's always been, how can we build something together? I have never seen a relationship where the woman is completely subservient to the man and the man's not a controlling. I've never seen it. That's the unfortunate part. Anytime that man is with you because you don't have anything, is because he wants to control you. Right. Now, that's not the type of man I believe she is trying to talk about, but you have to realize that man, if he needs control and wants to control you, has a certain level of insecurity that's going on inside of him. That's not majority of men. That's not majority of the pool. We want someone that we can trust. My security comes from knowing you're going to be there. My security also comes from knowing if I trip, I fall, that my partner is right beside. Mm-hmm. And I think majority of men who actually in the building mindset have that idea.
No, and thinking that you don't need me doesn't do that for me. If you come to me and let me know that you don't need me, a man wants to be needed. Right. A true man wants to be needed. So if your constant commentary, your behavior, your actions are always, well, I got mine, I really don't need yours, but we can try to do something together, that's not the respect thing we're talking about. And I think that it's the misnomer of this word submitted or submissive. they take it way out of context. And like you said, Doc, a lot of men have used that because of their insecurity. And
Correct.
they find people they can control. So now submissive does become a negative thing, and it's a negative relationship. So that's been foretold, has been expressed, and has been viewed. But at the end of the day, to have her sit there and have a thought that says, no man wants to be with me because of my money, or I can't find one that wants to step to the table like me. At the end of the day, you're not wanting to build. You have said what I'm not, and you've made me less than, because if you really wanted to do something, the money would be our money, but you're never going to talk about it as our money. It's always going to be your money and what you bring to the pool, because that's where it is. Where we, on the other hand, it's our money when it comes down to it.
So why do celebrities date celebrities? I mean, if that's the case,
right?
Celebrities date celebrities. Why? Why does royalty always look for another royal family? Right. So that wealth can pass on from
legacy.
Right? So there's a legacy there. So the idea that a successful woman will end up lonely, that's based off of her. What she's choosing to do, how she's choosing to respond and react in relationships, how she's looking at the relationship, right? Emotionally, how does she act emotionally? What does she believe? And I think that's where it comes in when it comes with high earning females, is how do they look at the dating pool, right? If you say every man got to have more, would I have or more? Well, you've limited yourself to potentially great men all across the world.
And 58% of women make more money than men anyway.
Absolutely.
Simple math says there's only 42 at that point, right? And out of that 42, I'm dealing with a majority of them that are emasculated, that are already dealing with insecurity anyway, right?
So let's go deeper. Not just emasculated. I need a certain skin complexion. Past a certain skin complexion, you got to be a height requirement. Past the height requirement, they got to have this. They got to have a certain house. They got to have a certain car for me to even deal with. So let's just keep leveling this thing down, right? So you get to the we didn't talk about homosexuality, right? So we didn't talk about the amount of men in that dating pool that are now gay, right? We didn't talk about that. We didn't talk about that at all. We didn't talk about the amount of people in that dating pool, in prison, right? We didn't talk about that. So you've limited yourself based off of superficial needs of having this in a relationship and never looked at the character of the person at all.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the biggest problem comes in with anyone saying that there's no good men, there's no good women.
Exactly. If you're just joining us, we're talking about, will successful women end up lonely? If you just joining us, I want you to watch this clip again because we want your comments.
Say date like a man.
Okay.
If you're a really highly successful woman who's doing very well financially, men don't date with those standards. Yeah. You date with who makes you happy.
What if she can't get over that? She's like, I want somebody on my level.
Good luck. Have at it. Go for what you want. But I'm just letting you know that your pool of men that are making the kind of money you're making is so slim to none. And then those men don't want you, because men will sleep with just about anything.
That's true.
And especially if it's private or secret and no one has to know. So I've seen women who are 5s, but they're sleeping with a dude who's a 9. Yeah. She's got these ridiculous standards because she actually thinks this means that a man on that level would be with her. But he would never be with her. He's just using her for sex. But she thinks because her vagina has given her access to these men here, that this is the new standard. Men, money. They would never have access to these women, but the money gives them access to this. So for women who are very successful and you want to only date those men in that pool, that men with money have access to women that are not on their level. Do you think he wants you? Men don't look at it like, let's be a power couple. That's a woman thing.
Man, that is real, Rebecca. I think a lot of women don't realize that.
Men don't think like that. That, you're powerful, successful man making money. He wants a woman for peace and love and great sex and stroke his ego. And he's proud to have her on his arm when he goes out. It's kind of like that whole package, for men thing. But that's about it. And as long as you're like a really great woman, you can be great friends and the compatibility is there and everything. everything, but he's not looking at another millionaire woman like, let me be with her because she's a millionaire.
Yeah.
That is not how men think. And so women, you know, if you're doing that, it's very lonely because first of all, there's not a lot of men in those categories. And then on top of that, like I say, you're going to be chasing men who don't want you.
I'm still inclined a little bit to agree with her. I'm gonna tell you why. Because I think there's levels. To this, right? You talked about the three of us on the panel right now. All of us are in a building phase. So we want somebody, So we want somebody that we can build with because we're in a building phase. Now, would you be looking at something different if you was Bill Gates? If you was Bill Gates and you was already a multi-billionaire, you wouldn't be looking at your mate. You wouldn't be trying to find a mate that you can build with. What are you gonna build? I'm a billionaire. You're gonna find somebody that you're gonna have that's gonna bring you some peace. Somebody that's gonna bring you some respect. Somebody that's gonna look good. Somebody that's gonna make you happy.
Okay. Well, and this is the problem, Chris. Why can't I get that in a mate that is wealthy? Why can't I get that in a mate? Because for me, it's always going to be, I need that woman who's ready to run and build with me. That's all. That's it. Doesn't matter what stage of life that I'm in. I still want a woman that I know that I can build something with because that's a deeper connection for me. I'm mentally driven, right? So if with a woman that can't teach me anything, I get bored real easy.
Right. Now you may have her like Bill Gates. You may have her running your nonprofit organization, but you didn't build that with her. You've already built it. Now you just want somebody to continue the legacy. We are in a building stage right now. We want somebody. If I'm talking about Airbnbs, me and Daniela, we're gonna talk about Airbnbs. We're building it.
So Chris, let me ask you, if you were already there to where you wanted to be, you're saying you wouldn't have rocked it with Daniela?
I would absolutely not, but I wouldn't be looking to her to build it. I'll be looking for now. Now I'm looking for the companionship. I'm looking for the love. She brings all those things to me. But in this phase that we're talking about, we want somebody that we can build with.
No, what she was saying is that the pool of men that are already established. So let's flip it. Daniela got the bag.
Yeah.
Are you attracted to her if you build it?
That's a whole nother conversation.
That's the conversation.
That's a whole other conversation.
Chris, that is the conversation. Because here's the deal: if she got the bag, then she ain't attracted to you because you ain't got the bag yet.
I don't think that's what the lady is saying.
I
think she's saying that pool is going to be small because of all the characteristics that the women be looking for.
So here's the deal: do you have all those characteristics?
Yes.
Are there men out there with those characteristics without the bag?
Yes.
Then she's not looking at you then because you're not in the pool. That's the whole point. She's missing good men because of what she's saying.
Exactly.
Completely.
She's not realizing the pool as much. She's looking at the pool as only this level of income. That's it.
Correct.
This level of access.
But
everything else.
But she's saying that women think that way. We did a whole show where the woman was talking about you need a man with the bag. And so she's telling you if you're only looking for the man with the bag, you might be missing the opportunity for the good men.
And these women right here saying she's tripping. But watch this. What about
that's what the lady said?
What about Russell Wilson and Sierra?
They both. But she got a bag, but she ain't got Russell. But they ain't building nothing together.
But hold on.
They building.
What do you mean they're not building nothing together? They show
they building. Family, life.
They're building
the bag
together.
Russell got the bag. So looking for her to build. Name one thing that they built together.
Well, I know two of Russell's nonprofits that they both work at.
Exactly. Like I said, she might be running a nonprofit organization.
They built two companies.
So okay, let's rephrase this then. Let's completely rephrase it, Chris. So I'm okay with getting a woman who does not have anything if I have a lot of money. She could be dumb as a brick.
No, I don't think.
No.
Because you still got your standards. You still got. Hold on. You still got your standards. You know, we already know what she's gonna look like. We already know that she got to be smart. We already know that she got to wait. You got your stand. You got your things that you're looking for. But the thing that I don't think that you're gonna be concerned about is can we build something together?
No, absolutely. I still believe in the helpmate. It's a helpmate. So regardless, the person that I'm choosing has to be a helpmate to whatever I'm doing. And I have to help her grow as well. So me saying I'm just going to get a woman, I ain't worried about their money, or I'm not worried about anything like that. I'm not worried about building with them. No, I'm still worried about building them because we're building a relationship. She's supposed to make me better.
Keyword. We're building the relationship.
Hold on, Chris. Let's go back and hear what she said, because she never talks about relationships.
Listen to the first thing that she says.
Let's look at it.
Go ahead.
Let's look at it.
Say date like a man.
Okay.
If you're a really highly successful woman who's doing very well financially, you can't. Men don't date with those standards.
She said men don't
date.
Just
told you. She said if you're really high successful, you can't. Because men don't do the same thing. Men don't go in it with all these characteristics that you got to have. We're doing the next thing she says is they are marrying you for.
Say date like a man.
Okay.
If you're a really highly successful woman who's doing very well financially, you can't. Men don't date with those standards. Yeah. You date with who makes you happy. Say date like a man.
Okay.
If you're a really highly successful woman who's doing very well financially, you can't. Men don't date with those standards. Yeah. You date with who makes you happy.
What if she can't get over that? She's like, I want somebody on my level.
Good luck. Have at it. Go for what you want. But I'm just letting you know that your pool of men that are making the kind of money you're making is so slim to none. And
that's the requirement. That are making the kind of money you're making. She's not looking for a genuine relationship. She's looking for a qualification.
She's looking for companionship.
She's looking for a qualification. She's not looking for companionship. She says if they're not making the kind of money I'm making.
That's not what she's saying. You listen to what she's saying. She's telling the women, don't do this, because if you're only doing it that way, you will miss it. You finna miss it. That's what she just told him. She says, because that's not how men do it. Go back and rewind it.
No. But hold on. But when we go further into it, what she's saying is men only use the fives for sex.
Correct.
That's not what she said either.
She said
a man will do it with you. No. She said a man will do it with a five. But the problem with the woman with the five, who's only a five, she think that the man is only doing it. She got something special. No, you don't have something special. You just had a vagina.
But here's what she really said. She said men with money only have access to the fives. Listen to the whole thing.
That's not what she said.
Yeah, let's listen to it again. She said they only have access to the
date
fives.
like a man.
Okay.
If you're a really highly successful woman who's doing very well financially, you can't. Men don't date with those standards. Yeah. You date with who makes you happy.
What if she can't get over that? She's like, I want somebody on my level.
Good luck. Have at it. Go for what you want. But I'm just letting you know that your pool of men that are making the kind of money you're making is so slim to none. And then those men don't want you, because men will sleep with just about anything.
That's true.
And especially if it's private or secret and no one has to know. Mm-hmm. So I've seen women who are fives, but they're sleeping with a dude who's a 9. Yeah. She's got these ridiculous standards because she actually thinks this means that a man on that level would be with her, but he would never be with her. He's just using her for sex. But she thinks because her vagina has given her access to these men here, that this is the new standard. Men, money. They would never have access to these women, but the money gives them access to them.
They would never have access.
Hold on. What she said is Bill Gates would never have an opportunity to date a 10 if Bill Gates didn't have that money.
5. She said a 5.
We agree with that. You think we talked about this on last week? Chris, we got that rapper boy. We got the rapper boy that looked like a roach.
Hold on.
Out of Florida. Chris, they some of the baddest women in the world. You know darn well he wouldn't have them bad women if he didn't have no bag.
But she's not a 5.
That some of the lady on the
what? She's not a 5. He might be a 5, but she's a 10. That's what I'm saying. What she's saying is completely backwards. She's saying that men with money don't only have access to 5s because they don't think like power couples, so they don't want to find one.
She didn't say that. She didn't say they only have access.
He says men.
Chris, is what you just said.
He's saying men who have money typically date the fives. No, that's how she said it. Date the fives.
She said they have sex with five.
Want the woman because they do not want the woman who has money. That's what she broke it down. That's the clarification. That's what I received.
That's not what I received.
We sleep with the ones that even are five because guess what? We can, and we don't want financially. We don't want the women who have the money. We stay away from them because we basically don't want them to battle with us.
And I don't think that's right. And I don't think it's true.
This is what she said. Men don't think about the
power couple.
Power couple.
She said that.
She said men don't think about power.
She said successful men. She said successful men who get the bags. They're not thinking that way.
We think like, okay, well, we'll sleep with the five because we don't want to deal with the woman up here financially. And I think that's where a lot is anybody else getting that?
Talk to me.
In this corner is Chris. Right, because they are right. So now I think they explain it better. Right. So one of the biggest things I think, like I said, she is basing it off of her own experiences.
Correct.
She's basing it off her turmoil, her hurt, her pain, the relationships that she's been in with men in that category that did not work. And she's kind of surmised it, broken it down, and saying that, oh, the reason why this didn't work is because I had money and he couldn't handle me being a strong woman. And I think that's completely false when it comes to relationships or successful men. That's what I say. I'm not looking for. I want a woman to be my helpmate, but at the same time, I want to continue to grow. Right? Let's grow something. And even if we haven't grown anything because we have a lot of money, you're still there sharpening iron. Iron sharpens iron. Why would I want to be with a woman who's not sharpening my iron?
Absolutely.
Well, and I think, Doc, here's the thing, Chris, and
that's true. That's true.
Before. My point was this. She doesn't talk about relationships. Mm-hmm. She really talks about qualifications. And she's dismissing people based on either their qualification is here so they don't want me, or their lack of qualification I'm not going after. So it's really, again, to me, she is depicting what I believe a lot of men, real men, are struggling with in the world. Think about this. Every movie that you've seen, every romantic comedy of color, are both of the people in there of status? I look at every Morris Chestnut movie, all these movies. They're not reaching down. They are two people going this way. The biggest sitcom of all time in Black America was The Cosby Show. Mm-hmm. I got a doctor and I got a lawyer. That to me is a power couple.
Power couple.
So, and the world literally idolized and looked at them as the role model for family in the 80s. I don't care who you were. So to say that that's not the case tells me that something has really changed over time. And I really believe it's the change in dynamic of the quote unquote feminist movement. Originally, feminist was about giving rights to women that they deserve. It's moved into this piece of it that is really judgmental. She said, not James in Florida.
Not James.
But you know what I'm saying? So when I look at her, I'm with Doc. When I first heard it, the first thing I heard, Chris, was my experience. I heard her talking out of her own experience. And she made a generalization about men. I've never not wanted a power, not even if when I was doing fine and when you rebuild and starting over, I've never not wanted that. And I don't believe any man, I don't believe that you can have a successful relationship if you aren't looking for that person to meet you where you are and be what you need for them.
Now let me ask you, just real quick, Coach. Yep. Men who are actually watching right now, put a 1 in if you want a woman who's successful and can build with you, or 2 if anything goes for you, any type of relationships. 1, do you want a power couple? 2, any relationship goes for you. Women, put that in there as well.
Zisha said, maybe George and Wheezy.
She said, and I guess one of the biggest things that we have to begin to separate is this idea that sex and relationship.
Wow, look at this comment.
Yeah.
Let explain that. Why did they make it hard? If that's the way that that people wanted. Chris, why do you think that? Why do you think she said that? I'm wondering. Why do you think they think that Cosby made it hard? Is it because of the girl's commentary that there aren't that many? I don't know. What do you think? What do y'all, Doc? What do you think? What do you think?
I think we have the image, like you referenced them, and right. that's the power couple. So I think the image of what we actually represent as a power couple.
Gotcha.
What does that represent? What does that mean? Does a power couple mean that I have to be the doctor and you have to be the attorney? Does a power couple mean that I could be a doctor, but you could be a home wife, but as long as you support me, we going in the right direction? What does power couple actually mean?
Interesting. Let's ask that.
That was an auto correction. My fault. I meant to say
they made it possible. They made it possible. Okay.
Now, Sylvia says, I've seen plenty of top-notch men reach down because they are intimidated by financially stable women. And we talked about that too, Sylvia. Those men are insecure from the beginning. Correct. The reason they don't want a woman that's financially stable, I said it before, a pimp, the number one goal is a pimp is control all the money and isolation. It's the number one goal of a pimp. And it's nothing different than a person in an insecure relationship with a man that has money, right? His whole goal is to keep you in bondage, right? He controls the money. He has the power in the relationship. Now, that's for a person who's insecure. That's for a person who's egotistical. That's for a narcissist. Their whole game is control. Now, a person who's not that way is not looking for a woman that they can control. They're looking for a woman, but you can't pimp a pimp.
But even in that statement, though, she says, I've seen plenty of top-notch men. Listen to what she said. I've seen plenty of top-notch men reach down because they are intimidated by a financial. Now, how do we know that they was intimidated? And that's the reason why they dated a 5 or 6 or 7. How do we know that? Or is that the story that we tell ourselves to make it palatable to your taste?
Right.
Or he must have didn't date me because he must
he didn't feel needed. And Sheikah says, right, he didn't feel needed, which is my whole told from the beginning, Chris. The number one thing a man wants is respect. Correct. Now, Sylvia is different. Sylvia is an achieving woman. She's smart, she's intelligent, but she still has that partner mentality, right? So she would do that, but I don't believe that sits in the majority right now. That of women that are highly successful, highly accoladed, and still sit in that space of, but this is still my husband, and he still leads and he still lives. Let me ask you this, Chris. I want your definition. What is your definition of power couple? And I want everybody out there watching. What is your definition of a power couple? That's a good question, Chris. And I think that is important because my interpretation of what she said, a power couple, was again superficial and materialistic standards because she never talked about anything else. But Chris, what's your idea, Doc? And I want you to. What is your definition of a power couple? What does that look like?
My definition is there's two people coming together, doing life together, making moves. No matter how those moves may be, they've decided that they're going to make those moves together and do life together.
Do they have a prerequisite, or is there a criteria?
It's not a monetary. Me and Daniel was talking about. It's not a monetary value. Okay. It's life.
Okay, that's what's
to
up.
me. That's power.
Doc, what about you? What's a power couple to you?
Two people successful in their own right. Right. I don't need you. You don't need me, right? What we do it together to create something bigger, create legacy. Right? I really have this idea, this thought process, any relationship, and I've had this since I was a child, right? We should connect to build something bigger, right? Am I making you better? Are you making me better? Right? That's kind of a criteria for a relationship for me. I don't believe in this whole idea that I'm supposed to fight my way up this hill while grabbing you and pulling you with me up a hill. That's never been one of my thought processes, right? Or I have to invest in every idea and every thought process that you have, but you're not really willing to do the work. That's not even something that I would possibly entertain when it comes to a relationship. Now, everybody's not at the level they should be, but are they working towards getting to where they're trying to go, and they're doing consistently? But a power couple to me are two people like successful in their own right, their own influences. Hell, they may both have two different visions, but how do we connect our two visions to align to move forward? That's a power couple.
Right. Well, what Glenda says is, she says, man becomes more successful when there's a woman beside them that supports them. It may not be money, but other stuff. Chris, taking that commentary right there, let me ask you this. Do you think the girl in the video would ever say that? What Glenda just said? Do you think that would ever come out of her mouth? And I'm asking this because, again, looking at prerequisites, looking at characteristic criteria, that to me is what I think true relationship should be. But I'm asking, and I'm wondering if she would, if that woman, because it didn't come across to me like that.
That's what I felt. That statement from Glenn is what I felt that other lady was articulating when she was talking about how successful men looking at their companion. It may not be the money. That's what I'm talking about. It may not be the money. It may not be the money that successful man is looking for. It's the other stuff that she brings to the table.
And that can be 100% true, right? She doesn't necessarily have to be a millionaire. What is she? Who is she as a person? That's what I said. Men don't cheat. I've said it on many of shows. Statistics show that men don't cheat for sexual reasons. They cheat for emotional reasons. Majority of men cheat for emotional reasons. 71%, in fact. So if there's another woman clapping while you're beating him down, and I'm looking at her and her disposition and how she speaks, she's probably one of those women who will kick you when you're down. She's one of those women who will talk about it when you fail, right? Just looking at her disposition and how she speaks, she's going to say whatever's on her mind because she's a strong woman. Well, strength and ignorance is a very thin line. But it's the character of that person that you're in a relationship with. So if a man's going to cheat 71% of the time based off the way he feels, he's also going to sleep with a woman based off the way she makes him feel as well. That's why I said we always have to pull apart, right? Sex and relationships should never go together. Like, we should never think that because a person is having sex with someone, that's necessarily the person he will be with, right? Because in that moment, in that time, it just may be a physical act. The person he'll be in a relationship with is completely different majority of the time.
What Motivation said, I think a power couple is two people being successful in their own right. It doesn't necessarily have to do with money. Successful within their own relationships, powerful with their own relationships. You got to start off mental. I'm sapiosexual, so if you can't get my mind, you can't get my body.
That's 100%.
Fair enough, yeah. I think that this is, and I'm glad we were able to jump on this topic tonight because there are a lot of, and I'll use this term, and I don't think it's only successful women. I think there are a lot of women out there that may end up lonely because of the nature of relationships and the reality of where they are today. I don't think it's just so I think a lot of women on here that are beautiful women, that are solid women, that are doing their own thing, still find it hard to find that guy. So I do believe what she said is the pool is limited, but I don't think it's limited for the reasons that she believes. I believe her limitations were because of what she really is asking for. Yeah, you have reduced it. But I think there's a limit, as Doc said. I think when you really look at what's available now, Chris, I think when we look at the pool of men, you look at more men in prison now than there were involved in the slave trade. You got more men in prison than there are in universities across the country. You have a generation of men that is finding homosexuality a greater way of life than the one that they have. So there's a lot of reasons here. So I don't think it's just successful women. I think it's women in general when it comes down to it. Glenda says successful women are too prideful. Well, I mean, again, all and these are coming from women. And I think that when you look at it, it's them looking at each other and saying, well, wait a minute, here's how we need to read ourselves for a change.
Miss Jackson said, I've been single for 11 years and been loving it. It has nothing to do with not needing a man or not wanting a man. I can't expect 100% out of a man if I'm not giving 100%.
And I think that's the real conversation, right? I think that's the real conversation in a relationship. Who are you? Are you giving 100%? Who are you? Are you emotionally stable, right? Who are you? Are you grateful? I think one of the words they use, honor. Do you honor your wife? Right? That was a powerful thing, man. Like the word when you're marrying someone to say, do you honor this person? Right? That means complete gratitude. That means I feel as though you are, I'm special because I've met you, right? Like how many people actually have that type of feeling inside of a relationship when they use those words? I do, right? To say that you're an honor to be in my life. And I think that becomes the biggest problem when we're looking at relationships today. We are the best thing for that person. And I think that's how majority of people walk into the relationship, that I'm the prize and everybody says it was. That's the new saying, I'm the prize. I'm the prize walking into a relationship. So if you're walking into the relationship with a mentality that you're the prize versus saying, you know what, to be with this person is an honor, it's a completely different mindset. So I don't have a problem submitting on both ends, men or female, right? I don't have a problem giving. I don't have a problem supporting their dreams as well, if I feel as though it's an honor to be in that relationship.
Hey, Doc, check out honor and respect definitions. Because they always seem
honor is a privilege.
Huh?
It's a privilege. That's what honor is, privilege.
And what about respect? Because when you usually talk about both, when people usually talk about respect, the word honor comes with it. And whether or not it's definitionally right, usually if I have honor for something, I respect it. And I think men have gotten to a place where they're not respected. And the honor for them isn't the same. I don't think women see men the way they used to see men, as the head of house, as the director, as the spiritual leader. I think a lot of those things are gone. So it's kind of hard to respect something you don't honor. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of where the pool is shrunk down.
Respect, a feeling of deep admiration for someone or something.
Okay.
Honor.
That's the issue with some people. They insist that they are the prize when they're really a dime a dozen.
Right. I can't. I guess one of the words that drive me crazy the most is, I know what I bring to the table. Right. I think that statement in general just drives me crazy. I know what I bring to the table. Or I'm not this is a new thing, the basic bitch. I ain't no basic bitch. Well, I think they drive me crazy. So what is, I'm not average? What does that? What does that mean? Right? I'm sorry because people say these things, but I don't think they have a clear.
It sounds good on a shirt.
Huh?
It sounds good on a shirt.
Right. It does. But what does this really mean? Right? I'm not a baby. This basic bitches. What do you mean? That statement alone just solidified you may be kind of basic.
Pretty much basic.
Right. You sound basic right now. But I think that's where we've gotten to in this society, like these statements that we say and don't really understand what they mean, but they give us a false sense of grandeur, right? Like they give us a false sense of who we are as a person in a relationship. You bring a lot of bad baggage to this relationship. That's what you bring to the table, right? You're bringing some emotional stuff that happened when you were in third grade to the table that you ain't worked on, right? You're bringing some trust issues to this relationship. You're bringing some debt to this relationship, but you're saying, I know what I bring to the table. Ma'am, cooking and giving out, Gargamel, just you know what I'm saying? That WAP ain't it. That you gotta come with more than that to the table, right? Because the woman said people want peace and love were two of the statements that she used.
Right. And I think too, Chris, one of the things that she was talking about, there's got to be a level of unconditionality when it comes down to true love. And I think that people live in this conditional world. I think that's part of where we still struggle. I think a lot of these new things, Doc, these new professions, these new confessions, these new statements have become a conditions. I ain't no basic bitch. Well, that's a condition. You're trying to use a statement to avoid being fully vulnerable. You cannot literally go into and be who you need to be unless vulnerability is there. If you got criteria and rules, now again, Chris said it earlier, you can have standards. You know what you like. But if the criteria precedes everything, then you're never going to find out or meet the person.
Right.
Because you're unwilling to be truthful to what you are. A lot of ladies have said that they're not able to give because of where they are currently in their own space, right? So they can't be vulnerable. And I think that becomes the bigger challenge when it comes down to it. What does Glenda say?
Yeah.
Men want to come home to a peaceful home. And that's what men look for in a woman that they can come home to. Well, here's the question. Can a successful woman not be peaceful when I get home? Is there a reason that a successful, does a successful woman, Sylvia, all of a sudden not allow peace in the house? I mean, is that where we are? Or is peace only attributed, Chris, to the fives? because of the control. I mean, you mean to tell me that someone who is affluent and wealthy can't keep the house in peace? There can't be peace? Is it because there's two alpha energies in there? Or what is it? Because she said that. She said, men are looking for peace. Why can't I have peace with somebody who's doing what I'm doing, making it happen the same way? Why can't we have that?
And I've said that before. I told you about my friend. She had a $54 million company. $54 million company. There's no way in the ham fat, her husband, was going to build an additional $54 million company inside of the house. I think it was a freelance photographer. But the one thing she said is, Adrian, he's the leader of this household. He leads my house. So the things that I do inside of this relationship, I'm going to consult with my husband for, right? She just stood on the Bible. Of course she brought him peace. That was her whole idea of what a relationship should be, no matter how much money she made or how much money he made. And I think if we go back to those kind of biblical standards, when we're sitting on something, right? Not sitting on what, your girl, what's her name? Cardi B. Not sitting on what Cardi B said, not sitting on what's on the t-shirt, like not pulling out emotion as far as ego and insecurities out the relationship and saying, this is how we're going to live our relationship. This is how we're going to this is how we're going to operate our relationship and stand on standards. Then we don't have that same problems. But as long as we keep trying to figure out how to manipulate the relationship the way we want it, as long as we keep trying to find the superficial things that we should have to be in a relationship, the qualifiers that should be in a relationship, we'll always have those problems.
So I kind of want to go back.
Go ahead.
So even with that narrative right there, your friend owns a $54 million company.
Built it.
If she had stood on what that lady was talking about in the very beginning, when the successful women are going to look for the guy with the bag, what does that pool look like for her to find a guy who making $54 million like she making? And that's what she was saying. If you do that, that pool is going to be very, very small.
No, and I don't believe that. We're living in a society right now where more millionaires have been created.
No, 54 million.
No, this is a $54 million company. It doesn't mean I got $54 million in my pocket. What I'm saying is the amount of people in that bracket right now are much larger than has ever been in history.
But she would have missed out. She would have missed out on her true blessing.
Well, she would have missed out if she was only looking for a qualifier.
That's what right.
Right. Like she found the amazing man because she was looking for the person's heart, not the qualifiers. Right. So she didn't build she didn't have the 54 million when they first got together. Understand that. She built it while they were in the relationship. But at the same time, her heart has always been, this is how I'm going to serve my husband. Mm-hmm. This is how a relationship should operate. These are the standards and the principles by which our relationship should operate. Now, she had money well before the $54 million company, but she already had a standard inside of her life. What this woman says is, no, the pool is limited. It's limited because these men don't want, and that's not necessarily true. And that pool is a lot larger than most people believe.
Because I think, Chris, the pool comes with more than just the bag. And I really believe that. But if you're only looking at the bag as the prerequisite, you'll miss the rest of it. So to me, what she was, and I get where you were coming from, what she was saying, but to me, she was talking both sides because she was talking about men don't feel this way, not true. And she was saying that men only had access to them because they had the money, which I thought was contradictory to what you were saying, because if I have the money, I should have access to you.
But think about it though. It's for a woman, we talked about on the last show. Woman's qualifiers, they want the guy with the bag. We talked about that last week.
Right.
But that's not men's qualifier. The woman with the bag.
Right. That's what I mean. So she's saying that's the point. So what she's saying is actual in contradiction, because she's saying that we don't want her. But the reality of it is, if you had the right attitude that I was looking for, I got no problem going after you if I got the bag. None whatsoever. Zero. What she was reducing us to is saying we only want the fives because the fives will do what we say. They'll stroke our ego and they'll respect us. Right. She was saying that we'll be intimidated by her. No, I'm not intimidated by you. It'd be nice to have somebody with 5 million. I got 5 million. That'd be wonderful.
Absolutely.
No problem with that.
We got 10.
We got 10.
We got 10. Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, but for me, again, it was the it was the delivery of the responsibility and the reduction of the man. Yes, men are sexual by nature. There's no two ways about it. But like Doc said, at the end of the day, when you really look at us as men, most men stray not because of the physical inadequacies, but because of the emotional lack of support and no respect. Mm-hmm. That's what it comes down to. So to me, she's not really connected to what a real man needs. She's created what she wanted, and that's her scenario. Because if she understood men, she would know that a man just needs respect. Mm-hmm. Miss Vina, trip. Miss Vina is an absolute trip. Miss Vina is a real trip. You know what I'm saying? But I think, and I'm glad that this is a good conversation. I wanted to make sure that when I saw the video, I said, you know what, this will be good for our show because of us being more traditional guys. I wanted to see how y'all felt about a woman saying men didn't want a power couple and how men only went after fives. I don't, boy, these girls are trip. I learned from men how to, she says, I've learned from men how to treat men, good and bad. Pray for me. Miss Venus something else. But you know what I mean, Chris? I think that I really wanted to hear where y'all stood from that perspective, because I know each and every one of us wants a power. I want somebody who wants to get it like me. I want somebody who physically wants to work out like me. I want somebody who wants to travel like me. I want somebody who wants to serve people like me and give like me. That's what I mean, that's what I want. I want the person who's with me to wake up every day and feel good about having me in their lives because they're better. And I want to be able to look at that person and say, you know what, I'm better because of you. To me, that's where the power is, because what happens is that people get attached, and attachment is draining of energy. It's connection that does the two.
Absolutely.
And I can't be connected with conditions.
Absolutely. And I think that's the majority of men who have a mentality of growth, right? I cannot be in a relationship where there's not conversation, right? And intellectual conversation. Right, I can be in that relationship. I can't be in that relationship that I'm constantly trying to pour into you and you're not pouring back into me. I can't do it, man. I mean, that's the fastest way to turn me off is to have a conversation, and every conversation we have nothing to do with building, has nothing to do with theories, concepts, belief systems. Like, I couldn't be in that type of. So to just choose a woman based off of her physical appearance will be very hard for me.
Because it won't last. Because those conditions. And when the conditions change, so does everything else.
Right.
And it's us having this belief system about what should be and what shouldn't be. I think the bottom line is this. There are women out here that want good men. And I do believe the pool of men, of good men, isn't as vast as it used to be for a number of reasons. Mm-hmm. And I don't just think it's successful women. I think it's women in general. But I do believe that women that are successful intimidate the modern day man. And I think that's so because a lot of them don't carry the level of respect because they feel like they've achieved, and you, again, they know what they bring to the table. It is mano a mano. It's the alpha versus alpha. And I think that's when it changes. And I think that's when most people really miss out on what could be. I've been in there for a long time. I had to stay stimulated. Our boys, Lord have mercy, they something tonight. Boy, they look at here. Something else. They something else. They wilding on here tonight, but it's all good. Any last comments, fellas? We got a minute left. Chris, last parting words.
Last parting words. Great show, man. Great topic. Great topic. Let's do it again. Let's do it again next week.
Next month, Doc.
I think we think it's something deep. Like, what would Grayson say? Let's get into Grayson's mind real quick. I believe that the only people that will be lonely is those that are choosing not to change. As the metacognition expert, I want everybody to believe in and do things in love, all love. And if you're believing in doing things in all love, those people will come into your life. Until the next episode. Go ahead, close out, Coach. There you go. I just had to channel my inner Grayson Marshall.
That was enough. We are out. What is he saying? Miss Vina, we do this every Monday night at 7:30. We welcome your topics. We welcome your comments. You guys are amazing. You're what makes the show go. Thank you, Glenda. Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, Zika. Thank you, everybody who has shared something tonight. This has been enthusiastically fun. Again, if you all have any comments, I want to thank you. If you all have any topics, any thoughts that you want to share, we want to delve down in them, and we do our best. Thank you, Brother Tim, to make sure that it stays balanced, and we'll share from our hearts. I mean, all of us, number one, love God first. We love people, and we want to see people be the best version of themselves they can be. So thank you again for joining us. We appreciate you. Until next Monday, we'll talk to you soon. Peace.